Hey, I'm Dan from Maxim, and I'm a software engineer here. I wanted to give you all a quick sneak peek into our MCP server, expose tools for interacting with evaluators, datasets, and log repositories. So let's see it in action. Here I have a very basic chat app, which I'll be starting. Here we'll be trying to, look for personally identifiable information that the chatbot is responding with. Let's try to ask, what is my name? So the chatbot says that it cannot disclose this information at this moment. But let's say if this was a very long sentence and you could not read it right now and you just wanted to know if it contains any PII, what you can do is we select this, go to your agent mode within cursor and then just ask it to evaluate this sentence using PII detection evaluator on Maxim platform, saying yes, and that today might be of type date time. But yeah, so now we can pick this and we can again give it to the chat. Since it has context to what was going on before it, we can just ask it to do the same as above for this sentence as well. And since it has all the information that it needs, it directly goes to execute this time rather than try to collect all the information that it needs. And so this time we've got results back with PII detected for name, and it is of type person, and it detected Dan as the potential PII. So now that I've selected this sentence, I'll ask it to create a dataset on Maxim's platform for PII detection, for PII test cases. It added the first batch successfully now, and now it's trying to add the final batch that's left. And now as we can see that it has created 10 test cases for this dataset. Let's see how it looks on the platform. So here we can see that it has created this dataset with 4 columns, namely input, subject, chapters, and student name. And these are the different inputs that it's giving with the different types of subjects and chapters. We can see. So I'll ask it to list all the log repos in my workspace. And we can see that it fetched all the log repositories in my workspace, and these are all the log repositories that it has access to. Let's try to ask questions about AI stack prod. Now we've asked it what has been the general trend of cost in my AI stack prod repository in the past 30 days. Now it's trying to get the current time so that it knows what the past 30 days from now is, and thus fetch for all those logs and see what the general trend of the cost is. So as we can see, it has analyzed that this is the average cost per request, and the highest cost is this, the lowest cost is supposed to be this. The model usage was OpenAI GPT-4o model, and the token typically ranges from this 2000 to 6500 tokens per request. The most expensive interactions tend to be longer conversations with multiple turns, which was expected, and follow-up responses typically have lower cost is also what it inferred. And most recent activity was on which date, which is today, and the highest concentration of activity appears to be around April 10 and 11. So this is all that it has inferred from just looking at logs from the past 30 days. So now I've asked it for what is the main reason for high token usage across my logs in the past 30 days and what patterns can it infer from it. Interactions where these many tokens involving multi-turn conversations. There was the highest token usage of 6,500, and it was in a conversation about security measures and data protection policies. So now I've asked it, I've been using Azure and OpenAI as providers for my GPT-4o model. Can you let me know of the comparison of latencies between them and how they hold up against each other? So now it will try to analyze the logs for both of these. Got some logs where it was analyzing the latency patterns between Azure and OpenAI. It saw that Azure had an average latency of these many milliseconds. This was the typical range, most consistent latencies observed in this range. There are some notable examples basically for different types of use cases. Similarly, for OpenAI's provider, there are some other stats that you can see over here. then there are some key observations that it did, which was consistency, where Azure showed more consistent latency patterns with less variation, and OpenAI shows higher variance in response times. The base performance was basically both providers have a similar baseline, but Azure tends to be slightly more predictable in its response times. Like, let me know if you have any other doubts or if you would like to see any other MCP tools from Maxim. We are still planning on bringing all of these entities onto our MCP server, and we are very excited about this.